too sweet and a little spongy to the touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have had a bigger breakfast. This is killing me.
Welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. Here's your host, Scott Cowan.
All right. Well, welcome to this episode of the Exploring Washington State podcast. I'm really excited today because I'm sitting here in my office, but I'm talking to Louis Rudd of Ezell's Famous Chicken, and I love your food. That's a shameless plug, but I used to go to the one in Tacoma a lot when I was living in Tacoma. So this for me is exciting. I'm very happy you're here. So thanks for making the time. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Scott.
And let me see what my first question to you is going to be.
Okay.
Well, you're originally from Texas, right?
Yes, born and bred.
Okay. So I was reading on your website. This is going to be a random weird question to start, but what is Texas style when it comes to food? What does that say? It says Texas style plates. What does that mean?
I think, most people, when they think Texas style, it's that Southern feel and flavor where most recipes and meals were prepared when we were growing up in East Texas by the parents, the grandparents, and there was no recipe books. It was a dab of this, a dab of that, and it was always the foods that were prepared were raised on the premises.
Okay.
Go out there and grab me a chicken, the hog, the meat was processed and cured and prepared right there. So it's that good old Southern comfort food. Okay. And fresh, homemade, and it's just good old Southern. I think when people talk Texas made, that's what they're thinking about. Good old Southern style comfort food.
All right. So what brought you from Texas up to Washington? You like the rain?
Actually, following my childhood friend.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And when you talk about Ezell's Famous Chicken, the dream began with Ezell Stevens in a little small town in East Texas, Marshall, Texas.
All right.
Yeah, where we used to work for a man named Waylon Brown at a place called Brown's Fried Chicken.
Okay.
$1 an hour.
Big wages.
Big wages. Yeah. And the dream began to one day have our own chicken place. And again, that was with Ezell. And we were two of Mr. Brown's key employees there. We took good care of his product and his recipes and did well running the kitchen and the restaurants there. And when he decided he was going to expand, he took Ezell over to a little town in Atlanta, Texas, to open up the second restaurant that he was going to expand. And then he would bring in this manager to run the place. And for the first time, I saw a look on Ezell's face. I didn't understand. Why is that look on his face? He just got a nice compliment because Mr. Brown said to Jessie, I think that was her name, if there's anything that come up, you don't know what to do, he pat Ezell on the back and say, this is your guy. Talk to Ezell. And I saw a look on his face that was confusing for me because I didn't understand. It's just a nice compliment he just got, but then he had that look. And so I asked him later when they walked out, what was that look for? He says, well, if I know everything, why is she going to be in charge? That's okay. And he pat his chest. One day we'll have our own chicken place.
Okay.
That was the beginning of that vision.
All right.
And the dream that would eventually become reality in Seattle some 20 years later. I mean, we were teenagers back then, 17, 16 years of age. And he would keep the dream alive. And he would later go into the Coast Guard. And there was a saying when we were kids that Louis will follow Ezell off the face of the earth. If Ezell walk off, Louis is going to be right there behind him. My nickname was Shadow at times because anytime you saw Ezell, you saw Louis is what the saying was. Here comes Ezell in his shadow. And but when he went into the Coast Guard, it was like, no, I'm not going there. I was afraid of all that water. I'm not going on the boat. You know,
you'll fall up to the edge of the earth, but not into the water. Got it.
To the water. No,
Okay.
not to the water. You know, we used to ride one bicycle up and down those back roads in Scottsville, Texas. That was our main source of transportation. We'd ride, because we lived out in the rural part of Marshall, 8 miles outside the city limit. So to get uptown, you either have to hitchhike, walk, or, you know, we would ride a bicycle. I would pedal the bike on the flats, and when it started up hills, he would jump on the seat and he would start pedaling the bike up the hills. But either way, we were always right there together. But when he went to the Coast Guard, a year later, I stayed and I would go into the Army. But we would continue the conversation, or he would, around one day having our own chicken place. And he would call and he'd ask questions. And he and my sister Faye were childhood sweethearts.
Okay.
And then his brother Samuel, the 4 of us out of 17 kids and 2 families, we were always close growing up as kids. And we lived right across the road from each other in this little town of Scottsville. But he would always talk about the chicken place. And when he would call and want to talk with Faye or whatever, call home while he was in the Coast Guard away, I think he was in Alameda, California somewhere, but he would always ask, so how's the chicken place doing? Customers still coming in and out, and we used to cut the chicken with a circular saw. And they came in whole body birds, and we would take them out the box, flip them, and we would cut the chicken that we cooked in the kitchen. So he would always ask about the process for preparing the chicken. We made those fresh homemade rolls that Waylon Brown had the recipe for back then. And that same fresh homemade roll that we've been doing it for 38 years out here. And again, it's that same flavor, that same roll that comes out the oven, put a little butter, a little honey in there, and this is one of the best treats you can ever have. But anyway, we always talk about the rolls, the chicken, and how's the business going. And one day, still having our own chicken place. He would bring that up one day. And eventually he would get out of the Coast Guard in Seattle. And at this time I was in Germany and in the military, in the Army. Mm-hmm. So by the time I got out, he had married my sister Faye, migrated to Seattle. One of my brothers had migrated out, and another one of my sisters eventually followed, came out, and the migration started to Seattle. And by the time I got out, the first thing he did was drove me around talking about this would make a great chicken place, that would make a great chicken place. And
well, let me interrupt you.
Go right ahead.
What were the criteria? Why would he say that's a great chicken place? What was his criteria at the time?
Well, one conversation that we had centered around Seattle would be the place for the chicken place, and he would make the statement that they've got banks here like they have gas stations back home. Well, in Texas, there was a gas station on every corner and one in the middle of the block. Everybody owned gas stations back there, right? But he said out here in Seattle, there's banks like that. There's banks on every corner, which meant there was a lot of money to buy chicken with.
No, that seems very logical.
Yeah. So anyway, he said they didn't call it the evergreen state for the trees. It's all of the greenbacks out here, that money. But anyway,
all right.
He had a good feel. So the first location that ended up opening in the Central District across from Garfield High School was one of the locations that while he was in the Coast Guard, he would cross that parking lot periodically, and he would always say, man, this will make a great chicken place. When he was on his way downtown or just migrating through the city doing whatever, he would walk across that parking lot, and it was an old boarded up building most of the time, and then there would be different businesses. It was a hamburger shop at one point. It was an ice cream place at one. There was a fish restaurant there. Owner opened it up selling fish. But then Ezell and Faye would eventually buy that building.
Okay.
It was all boarded up, and it took 5 years to get the financing to open that restaurant.
So much for a bank on every corner.
Right. And during this time, there's a lot of heightened awareness and conversations going on around social inequities and racism and social unrest. But anyway, we faced that. Ezell faced that when trying to get the financing to get that building open. It took 5 years, again, to get the financing. And finally, it was an SBA direct loan, SBA guaranteed loan, direct loan to get the business up and running. And it was against all odds. And we were blessed. We were fortunate that we opened it up. And it was a huge success from day one. It was a Friday afternoon, February 3rd, 1984. They had an event going on across the street at the high school there, Garfield High School, called Bubbling Brown Sugar.
Yep.
And they had, it was like a dance competition. So there were kids from schools all around, from Cleveland High School, Franklin High School, Rainier Beach, Garfield High School. So it was an opportunity to really introduce the product and the business to the broader community.
And was that by design? Did you guys have the opening day scheduled because you knew that event was going to happen? Is that when you said that's when we're going to open, or was it just serendipitous?
I just think the stars aligned. It just, when it was time, it was time. We had everything in place, and it was just, one of those blessings. And it seemed like, it was always the right time and the right thing to do, doing that. And so it was just a true blessing. And it was in February. It was a sunny afternoon, and we did good sales, and couldn't wait to go and see if the money in the safe matched what the cash register receipt tape said, because it said that we did some good sales, good numbers.
Okay.
And so we started out, it was a success from day one, and the community embraced us. And to this day, we have, the community to thank for all of the successes that we've been able to achieve to this point, because it was the schools, the churches, the hospitals, it was the youth centers around town. I mean, they all came in and rallied around us, and it was just a huge, huge community embracement. And we just continued marching forward. And here we are again, 38 years later, and much appreciation to the community that really embraced us, took us in, and here we are.
38 years. That's, I was in college then in Ellensburg in Central Washington.
Okay.
And I remember coming over, this might've been 86, 80, some, you'd been open for a little while, and, and a friend of mine said, you got to go check this place out. And so we did. And it was like, wow, this is, it's delicious. It really is. I want to know, I mean, I warned you before I hit record, I was going to ask you for the secrets, and it would be easy if you shared them, but the rolls, you guys, that's just, I know you're chicken, but the rolls, I mean, what's the story there?
A lot of people have, compared it to, likened it to Hawaiian bread because of the sweetness, right?
Yeah,
but it's a fresh homemade yeast roll, and
they're delicious.
I think the most important aspect, or the thing that gives it the greatest value when people come in and they love it so much, is that it's baked fresh daily. Each location mixes the bread dough, let it rise overnight. The next day, it's baked fresh daily, and it's nothing like some good, fresh, homemade victuals. And those rolls are fresh and homemade every day. And I think, the light and fluffiness, they got a little sweetness to them, but at the same time, they're not too sweet, and a little spongy to the touch. Yeah.
I should have had a bigger breakfast. This is killing me. You're killing me.
You put a little butter, a little honey on there, and I'm telling you.
Oh, they're amazing. When you guys first opened, let's compare and contrast that to like today. How is the menu back in 84 versus what you're serving today?
The basic menu is still there, and I maybe 4 or 5 new menu items that's been added over the last 38 years. I would say mac and cheese would be one of those.
Okay.
And what else would we have added over the years? Barbecue baked beans, but it's pretty much the same menu.
Okay. Same menu. Why change a good thing, right?
Why change it? And we've had lots of people come in and ask, well, why don't you guys add this? Why don't you add that? No, if you want to get that, you need to go down the street. There's someone doing some great barbecue chicken. We tried barbecue chicken sandwiches at one point, and, we tried at some point to maybe take the chicken that we don't sell on the day before and add some barbecue sauce to it and stuff, but it wasn't the real deal. It was just us trying to not have the waste, right?
Gotcha.
But not really create a good menu item. And so we decided, let's just stick to what we do best. And if we have leftover food, we find a homeless shelter or a food bank and let them deal with it. And, that was a lot of times too when I talk about the community embracing us and all, and the youth centers around town. There was one called CAY, the Central Area Youth Association, that we would take leftover chicken to. They would have activities going on late night. So when we would close, whether it was basketball games or card games, or they had production facilities set up for music production, teaching kids how to engineer and produce music and stuff like that. We let them have the chicken after closing. Somebody would be standing right there hoping that we didn't sell it all. So, and then there was a Central Area Motivation Program camp that was a block away from us that they work with a lot of youth in the neighborhood to provide programming and activities for that we would take the chicken to. But anyway, we said, that's a better use of the product than us slapping a little sauce on it and trying to sell it. But
I love it when businesses stay true to the roots, if you will. This is what we do great. We're just going to keep this what we do. And if you want something else, there's somebody over here that's doing that.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yeah. And so that's what we've lived by that. It's like, you don't fix something that's not broken. And if it's working well, why change it? And again, let's be the best at who we are and do what we do best.
So question I have is not in a business scientific thing, but what's the most popular menu item? What do people order more of anything? And just off the top of your head, what do you think it is?
Well, I've got stats to back it up. Today is the chicken tenders. We sell more chicken tenders today than bone-in chicken or any other menu item.
Does that surprise you? That surprised me.
No, not today, because, it's been that way for some time now, and I've watched it evolve. But, when we talk about the chicken tenders, and as people have gone away, move more towards that health consciousness, right?
Okay.
And their eating habits. Mm-hmm. And that chicken tender that we provide, it's not the compressed meat. It's an actual chicken tenderloin from a breast piece.
Okay.
And it's pure protein. It's a good bang for the buck. It's a good value proposition. And that battering process that we use that seals in the natural chicken juices and locks out the oils, man, you get that tenderloin, the chicken tender, and it's just a healthy piece of protein. And it's also easier to eat. A lot of people get chicken to go. 85% of the orders are to go, and a lot of people, the chicken don't make it home, especially those tenders. They open the bag and they're popping tenders on the freeway. No, let me quit.
Sorry, honey, I know I was supposed to do this, but they're gone. I gotta go back. Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's a good value proposition.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're challenged with right now in terms of with the supply chain shortages and all that's going on right now, It's concerned with making sure that we can maintain the level of volume that is being mandated, or of course in that fulfilling the demand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a huge demand for those chicken tenders.
So because of COVID and supply chain and all that but you just said 85% of your orders are to go. So were you impacted? I mean, everybody was impacted by COVID, but how was it once we realized it was going to be here for a while and, we started adapting and mask mandates and all that, were your stores able to function fairly normally?
We are amongst the blessed. And from the beginning of the pandemic to now, we've seen nothing but success in our operations. We've had some challenges, of course, that we've had to make some adjustments and adapt to. However, from day one, we had a model that was pretty much built to deal with the kind of challenges that was presented by the pandemic when people were, sheltering at home and not able to go out and dine out again. Well, 85% of our orders were to go from the beginning. And, another blessing was that we had partnered with a third-party delivery partner in DoorDash a year or so before the pandemic hit. So we had built a following on that platform for delivery. And all of our units were accustomed to that already.
Okay.
And from a packaging standpoint, because of 85% of our orders were to go, we were already prepared from a packaging standpoint and had that in place, and was, and our team members were good at that. And so when the pandemic hit and everything was pretty much now to go, we just kept doing what we did. Now, we did take precautions. We followed guidelines to make sure that our team members were safe and would remain as safe as possible during those times. But in terms of impact on sales, while a lot of businesses were just struggling to survive, we were thriving during that time in sales, and continue to this day, to see good numbers in terms of sales. Now, when a lot of others were challenged with the labor shortages, we still have not had a huge negative impact in that area either. We've been able to pretty much maintain a good percentage of staffing. We haven't had to alter our hours or days of opening. And, I think when asked, what do you really attribute that to? I think it's the culture that we created from the very beginning.
Okay.
And it's a caring culture, where people are there because they care more than anything else. They care about each other. They care about the guests. They care about the brand. They care about the quality. They care about, just a caring culture.
Well, let's go back to 84 when you first opened. How many people were working when you opened the first location? How big was the team?
5 of us.
5 people. So, and today, approximately?
There's over 300 and close to 350 employees system-wide.
Okay. That's okay.
Yeah. So it was just the brothers when we opened up, and my sister Faye.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all right.
It was Ezell Stevens, his brother Samuel Stevens, and then my brother Darnell Rudd, and then my sister Faye. And the 4 of us actually worked in the operations in the store, and Faye always been the one behind the scenes, making sure that the navigation system is intact and calibrated so that the ship, the plane don't crash. But the accounting and administrative side of it, she's been the anchor.
Okay. Let me, how do I want to ask this? How was it that you guys were found by the Sonics and the Seahawks players? I mean, what happened? Do you remember the first time an athlete that you recognized walked in?
Yes. So the Seahawks, I think, were the first
Okay.
of the professional athletes that started coming there. So I remember Mark Abrams, who actually was selling insurance at the time. I think he was in the insurance business. Introduced us to a couple of the players, and I'm trying to remember the marketing director's name now. Forgive me, I can't call his name now.
That's okay.
But that led to players coming over to the restaurant. I still remember Tony Woods sitting in the lobby there, the Warrior sitting in the lobby eating chicken, which led to us taking 110 box lunches. I used to drive out to the SeaTac airport when the Seahawks had their plane, the Hawk 1, and I put 110 box lunches on the plane before they would take off for all of their away games. So that was a ritual. That was a regular.
110 box lunches.
110 box lunches for the players, the staff, the coaches, the pilots. Everybody got a box lunch. And
nice.
Yeah, Reggie McKenzie back then was in charge of ordering the chicken for the plane. And I would drive out to the airport and did that for 3 years. And from there, we started taking it over to the camp when they had the camp in Kirkland.
In Kirkland, okay.
Back then. And Coach Knox was the coach back then.
Yeah. Oh, jeez, yeah.
Take the chicken over there, and they had tables set up outside the locker room. They didn't have a real fancy cafeteria like they have today over at the VMAC.
Right. Yeah.
But and the Sonics organization, Ezell just became a household name around the community there, and we would have different ones coming in and out of there, and we would actually cater for the visiting teams. When the Sonics would have visiting teams coming in, they would call us up, and we'd take box lunches down. I can remember taking box lunches for the Sonics plane one Christmas day. It was snowing. They were flying away for an away game, and taking chicken down to the Galvin Center on Airport Way.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Had to think there for a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Galvin, yeah. And they had, it was a club, the Max or something like that. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was a club that the players used to hang around inside before they would go and get on the plane.
Okay.
Right off Airport Way down there. And I would take enough box lunches for the players and the staff. And when Nate Robinson was with the New York team, Nick, his mom was in town here, and Nate said, I want Ezell's on the plane for my meals. And so when the Knicks flew to town, the staff or whoever for the plane, somebody in New York had other plans. But Nate said, no, I want Ezell's on the plane. So I met his mom down at the plane, and we took Ezell's chicken, had box lunches for Ezell's on the plane. That was an experience awesome. There.
I love that.
Yeah.
So one of the things you guys are very famous for is Oprah. I read about it, but how did that happen? What happened there?
It's hard to talk about Ezell's and not
talk
about the time when Oprah came to town and she was doing a kids program with King 5.
Okay.
And she was working with the production crew. And one of the gentlemen who, believe it or not, I always told the story that was a member of the production crew that introduced Oprah to Ezell's chicken. But I never knew who that person was.
Okay.
But all these years later, I knew that that's how she was introduced by one of the production crew. Well, last year on a conference call, well, not a conference, it was one of those Zoom meetings with University of Washington. He was in one of the chat rooms and introduced himself.
Oh,
he
really?
said, it was me that brought Oprah over to get the chicken after one of the production rounds. I said, man, all these years later, I finally get to meet you. But anyway, yeah, so she called up and she wanted to have the chicken delivered to her hotel because she enjoyed the chicken so much. And when she dialed up, David Jones at the time was working as our dispatch for, at this time, we had what we called the Ezell Express delivery service, where we would deliver box lunches to corporate offices downtown Monday through Friday.
Okay.
And this happened to be Saturday. And David answers the phone, and it was an assistant traveling with Oprah and said, we'd like to have some chicken delivered downtown to the hotel that she was at. And David said, I'm sorry, we don't deliver on Saturday. Well, the young lady repeated what David said. Said, so you guys don't deliver on Saturday? And he could hear a voice in the background say, give me that phone. And then the next thing was, this is Oprah Winfrey, and I'd like some of that chicken, and I'd like to have it delivered now, please. And he said, well, how do I know that this is Oprah? She said, well, you bring the chicken down, you'll see. He did, and he saw. It was Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, my gosh.
She enjoyed the chicken so much that she wanted to have it again. And then, this was during the time when she had run a marathon. She lost a lot of weight. She was on this diet, and she gave up a lot of her favorite foods and dishes that she would, enjoy so that she could run this marathon. And she lost a lot. So her business manager at the time, Beverly, called up, and she wanted to bring in all of Oprah's favorite things.
Okay.
And Ezell's was one of those favorite things that she wanted to have at her birthday party. And we were blessed in that way that instead of shipping the food out, we delivered the chicken back to Chicago. And we actually sourced it. We took back the seasoning and other items on the plane with us instead of luggage. We had the menu, but anyway, we get back there, we sourced the product, and we were able to utilize one of the kitchens in a restaurant back there. And at that time, Oprah had ownership in this restaurant called the Eccentrics. And we went and they allowed us to utilize their kitchen to cut up the product the way that we cut the chicken, like we used to do back in Texas at Brown's. We cut it up into the 8 pieces. We marinated it and seasoned it. And the next day, we delivered enough chicken over to Harpo Studios for 75 people. And it was a huge, huge opportunity and an experience of a lifetime to sit backstage or in the green room when Oprah comes off the set, and first thing, where is my chicken at? And, we put sweet potato pie back there. I mean, and but she autographed the picture and sent it up, and she didn't know. She thanked us for coming back and didn't know if she liked the sweet potato pie or the spicy chicken best. But what an experience! What an experience.
So I was talking to a friend of mine in the Seattle area, and somehow she was involved with finding food for some event, and they were going to do fried chicken, and Ezell's chicken was one of the chickens, and I think that was the one they selected, but I can't say that for 100% certainty, but I think it was. But she made a comment, and I'm just curious, is the chicken cut differently than other chicken places? I just eat it. I don't pay attention. So do you guys cut the chicken differently than other places?
We do have a special cut and a spec that's somewhat different than most others out there. And, for example, there's one chicken purveyor who has large numbers of units across the country and abroad. They cut theirs into 9 pieces. Okay. And they start with a smaller bird. Okay. We use a larger bird to begin with, and I'm giving you some behind the scenes stuff here now, right?
All right.
But, so we use, our specs are 3.5 to 3 3/4 pounds. And we cut it pounds. And we cut ours into 8 pieces. So we have 2 side breasts, 2 wings, 2 legs, 2 thighs. Okay. They use a smaller bird to begin with, specs somewhere around 3 and less. And I was just 3.5 and up. And they cut theirs into 9 pieces. Right. So they have a center breast and 2 side breasts.
Okay.
So a lot of times people would come in and they like to compare from a price standpoint. Well, I can get this many pieces there for less. Yes, but you're getting less meat. You're getting less product also.
Right. Okay.
Right? And so when you compare apples to apples, so yes, we do have a special cut. We leave more meat on our wings also. And sometimes, we'll have guests that will come in and they say, I want to get 4 wings. Well, they're used to getting 4 wings somewhere else where it's not a lot of the breast meat left on the wing because of the cut. And they can eat 4 wings. And they also pay less for 4 wings. So when they get the price, it's a sticker shock sometimes. And then they come back and they go, wow, I don't need 2 of your wings this time. Now I get it.
Okay.
Right. So there is a difference in the cut. And there's some similarities with some of the other ones that, the specs from a size standpoint are closer to ours. And the cut where they may leave less meat on the wing, they have what they call a silver dollar cut. So that's just a little thin piece of the breast meat left on the wing. Ours is a chunk of meat from the breast left on the wing.
Okay.
So there is a difference. And we've had some challenges in being able to source that because it's a special cut.
So are you guys using a circular saw still to cut, or have we modernized?
Well, for the last, I guess, few years, we haven't found the circular saw. No, we've had to move away from that. And with the demand and the volume that we go through now, and yes, we've been fortunate that we partnered with Acme Poultry from the beginning, local company here that used to have their own farms where they raised their products and they had the production facility as well as distribution. Now they just do distribution. And Tom there has been a great partner, and he's been able to keep finding that source for us that can provide our special cut and keep us the volume that we need. But
Okay.
But we got a circular saw in the warehouse that if it comes right down to it, we're not going to run out of chicken.
We're not going to run out of chicken. Yeah. I love it. Well, I'll be honest with you. When you said back in Texas, you were cutting with a circular saw, I think my eyes got real. I'm like, what? Wow. Let's talk about what your company does for the community, because you guys are very active in giving back to the community. I think you pride yourselves in being good community members. I don't think that I know that. I shouldn't say it like that. From the very beginning, where are you at today? What's going on? What are you guys doing that you want to talk about?
Well, today there's a huge level of awareness around social inequities and systemic racism and redlining and the impacts that those conditions and situations have had on people of color and in the Black community and small businesses. And so, one of the things that we've always taken pride in is being good community partners and giving back to the community and understanding what it's like growing up in the Black community and growing up facing racism. And again, growing up in a little small town in East Texas where I lived through it. The signs, no colors allowed and ends round back. You walk up and the sign is in the window in your face. And the discriminatory practices and the blatant in-your-face racism that existed. And, coming out to Seattle in the Northwest, it was still here and apparent, not as in your face. We called it camouflage racism when we moved out here. And that was a word that we used, because it was not blatant in your face. It was more subtle, and it was more systemic and systematic as opposed to just an individual in your face. So understanding that, and some of the challenges, that the Black community and Black people face, we, through the business, again, the culture that we created, this caring culture that we talk about today, began with giving opportunities to a lot of kids and youth in the community, their first job, where some would come in and they would say, I'll come and work for you guys, but I'm not going to work for McDonald's. It was a pride thing. So we understood that. But also understanding how the community embraced us and giving back to the community was just important to us. And it was just part of who we are and who we were at the time. So we developed great partnerships with the community. And as we've grown, some of the things that, we take the most pride in is just, we were there for that single mom that didn't have a babysitter for her kid, but she could keep her job because she could bring her kid and Faye would watch the kid while she worked. And giving that youth an opportunity to get that first job who, didn't have skill sets. And we would understand when he'd be late for work, or when he would, have that outbreak and, walk off the job, and we give him a chance to come back. We're not going to let you quit on life. You're not just quitting your job. You're quitting on life if you walk out here. So come on back. Understanding the challenges. So, but to this day, one of the things that we're most proud of is that we've been able to bring on a community outreach specialist. And Ezell does a great job with that. It's just going out in the community and finding partners that we can support good causes and needs in our communities. And that's an area of expertise that she, that's an area of focus that she just focuses on. How can I find community partners, people that we can partner with in the community that needs a hand up or needs a helping hand at times, whether that's food or sometimes it's monetary support. And most recently, we started what we call the R.U.B.B initiative. And when the pandemic hit, it was many small businesses, Black-owned businesses out there that didn't get access to capital, didn't get any of the PPP money, federal money, local money at the state level, the local level, city, county, whatever. And the practices, again, it wasn't blatant, just say racism, but the systems were not designed to support and help small Black-owned businesses that I knew about. And I'll give you one example. There were banks out there that were booking, and they were reaching out to their clients where they could do one application, process it, get it through, and they could distribute $5 million. And these funds were guaranteed by SBA. So it was no risk if it didn't get paid back. And so they were out there, they, meaning the bankers and the people within the banks, to go out and get as many applications filled out and funded so that they can get that money on the books for the banks, because their stockholders and shareholders benefited from that. And it was guaranteed money. So it wasn't that we don't care about you small Black-owned businesses out there, or you small minority-owned business out there, people of color. It's just that I'd have to fill out an application for 100 of you guys, and it may not pass. I may not get you all qualified, when I can go after these major clients over here, and I can do 5 of them and get the same amount of dollars on the books.
Okay.
But anyway, knowing that, there was this one particular business that was struggling, had to close its doors due to no fault of his own. There was no revenue coming in. His own check for his personal business came through the sales from and the revenue from his business, because he paid himself. He's self-employed, business owner, but self-employed. So anyway, I became aware of this, and we actually went and spent the next 9 months of revenue that we thought we would spend with his business. We just wrote him a check for that up front and say, when you open your doors again, we will come and we will, utilize the credits that we just created by advancing you this money. But also, it just opened my eyes to there were so many others out there that were struggling. So DoorDash at this time wanted to do a promotional campaign with Ezell to help promote our business and drive more sales. And again, during this time, there were a lot of major companies, corporations, businesses out there that wanted to do their part and help minority-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses, people of color, and small businesses. And they selected Ezell's, DoorDash did, to be one of those that they wanted to help. And at this time, I was so aware of others that were so much more deserving and needing support that I asked, can we divert those funds to some of those businesses? Okay. So that led to coming up with the R.U.B. initiative. Now, when we were kids growing up back in East Texas, if you fell, hurt, skin, knee, whatever, headache, stomach ache, first thing the parents would do, grandparents would say, come on, son, let me rub that for you, right? And they just start rubbing. And just the touch of the hand rubbing would make the pain so much less. Okay. And so that became the acronym for the R.U.B. initiative, Raising Up Black Businesses. Put a little rub in the community. Let's see if we can make it better, relieve some of the pain and suffering that's taking place by so many of these small Black-owned businesses. And so when we launched the application process, we thought we may get 75 to 100 applications. It was well over 500 applications that came in.
Wow.
And
now, was that just, where did those applications, from just the greater Seattle area, or were they coming in from all around?
90%, I would say, came from the Puget Sound region, the greater Northwest. And there were some that came in from Spokane, some that came in from the Portland market, where we have a location there. But primarily, the most of them were from the greater Puget Sound region.
Wow.
And what we learned through that was that not only, was it important that the 20 grants that we gave out to the awardees was important, but we also learned that we could extend the support through consulting services, providing resources that they can tap into to help further their businesses through, again, consulting, helping to structure your business, and mentors, finding programs where they provide mentorship for a lot of those businesses. But anyway, it was a huge opportunity for Ezell. But that, again, is a legacy piece. As we move forward, long after, the chicken is gone, and Louis and Faye and Darnell, the co-founders, and we want the R.U.B. initiative to be around, and providing support for those businesses that are so deserving of it.
And I'm on your website reading, and so you've got other partners, though. Cisco, Pepsi, and Bar Green Ellison's are helping with this program.
Yes,
correct?
And the response was overwhelming when I reached out to some of the partners that Ezell's currently have in Bar Greens. And I sat with Paul Ellingson, and right away he said, Louis, this is huge, and count me in. Call up Cisco, awesome. Count me in. Food Buy, count me in. And Pepsi, count me in. And there's Lynn Ken Builders, Black-owned construction company here in Seattle. Louis, count me in. And the list just grew. And we hope to add future partners this year and bring on more sponsors and partners that can help reach out to these deserving Black-owned businesses out there. Most are struggling due to challenges that been around for decades, if not centuries. Access to capital, lack of access to capital.
So you issued 20 grants. Will you be issuing more? Is this going to be 20 on an annual basis, or what does this look like moving forward?
Well, we're right now in the process of looking at, is it going to be another 20 grants, or will it be 10 grants that are larger in amount?
Okay.
And we want to do what's going to be most impactful. in the community and raising up those Black businesses and providing coaching, consulting, mentorship. It could come in many forms of support, but the main thing that we want to be able to do is raise them up and provide some relief.
I think that's amazing. 1984, you started with one location. You have 17 today?
18 today. February 7th, we open up number 18 in West Seattle.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
What does the future look like? How many locations do you want to see the company grow to?
We started out with a vision to build a world-class brand, and we wanted to do that. Our mission statement say by providing fresh, never frozen chicken, good homemade side dishes served up with fast, courteous service. And then we got this value statement that says honesty, loyalty, and relationships are our core values. And with that, we think that we have the opportunity to have a brand that's presented nationally, right? Now, Will I be at the helm when that takes place? Probably not. However, I think, building the platform for that to take place from is something that we're very close, if not there. And I'd love to see that take place, positioning the brand to go national before I step away from it.
Okay.
Finding some growth partners. We've had many discussions and a couple of attempts to this date, and that continues.
I say this somewhat tongue in cheek, I'm sure that over the last 38 years, everything has gone perfectly. There's never been a challenge. Everything. Business is hard and it's fraught with challenges and false starts and dead ends, and we pick ourselves up and we keep going. And I love talking to business entrepreneurs and owners because the tenacity that you display is inspiring to me as a group of people.
Thank you.
And a long pause there. So 18 locations, more on the, I don't know if this is putting you on the spot, but more on the horizon. Like, is there going to be one over in Eastern Washington so that I don't have to drive over to Seattle?
Well, we do have the one in Spokane currently in Eastern Washington.
How do I not know about that?
Because you hadn't talked to me yet.
Oh my God, I should know, but I should know about that.
Everyone knows about that there is one on the East Hill in Spokane. The address is on the website. Get directions and tell all your friends. But yes, there will be more on the East side.
How did I not know that?
And there are conversations around, the direction from here to add additional. And before the pandemic, there was serious discussions around developing a strategy for growth. And then, given the impact of the pandemic and the situation, we decided the best thing to do was to, hit the pause button.
Sure.
And it's always better to deal with the known.
As we wrap this up, because I want to respect your time, when you're not working, what do you do for relaxation and fun?
Well, I really, really enjoy cycling.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite passions or pastimes. I'm an avid roller skater. I love roller skating.
Oh, now, when you say roller skating, are we talking roller blades, or are we talking roller skates that I think of are four wheels?
Rhythm dance skating.
Okay.
To the music with the quad.
Yeah.
Getting the beat.
Yeah. So where are roller rinks around the Seattle area now? Because it's been a long time since I've been in a.
Well, most of the skate kings, not most, all of the skate kings are gone, but they have the one now is Patterson's West.
That's in Federal Way, correct?
Yeah. And that's the most popular spot right now where people go and get their skate on. And then
get their skate on.
Everett rink is closing down. And then there's one in Marysville that's starting to pick up a little steam now, where people are traveling as far as Marysville from the Seattle area to skate.
Okay.
Then there's one that's down in Portland and Oaks Park.
Now that's a ways to go.
Yeah, that's a ways to go, but people travel, believe it or not.
I believe it. That's great. Yeah. I love that. So cycling be a little more specific there. Just do you like to get out for an enjoyable bike ride, or are you competitive?
Well, competitive with myself. So I've done 30 Seattle to Portland bike rides.
30
of them, 25 in one day, 200 miles in one day, and then I've done 5 2-day rides, I think it is.
So did you celebrate the Seattle to Portland by going roller skating afterwards, or were you a little tired?
Well, there was one time when I was skating, I think until maybe 1:32 in the morning. And then I came home and got like a 2.5-hour nap and was up at 5:30 and on my bike heading down to Portland the next day.
Did you make it in a day that time?
That was the year that I did 2-day ride. I made it to Centralia, camped out overnight, and got up the next day. And then I've always, for the last, I think since I turned 30, somewhere after 30, I started gifting myself a mile for each year that I've been blessed with on my birthday. So March 5th, rain, shine, sleet, or snow, I would get out and I'd ride the number of years on that day. So last year I rode 66.5 miles, 66.5 miles for my 66th birthday. This year on March 5th, I got to find me a nice hill to come down to get 67 in.
I think that's a great gift.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Those of you that do the Seattle to Portland, I scratch my head. I'm like, that would, well, I mean, look at me. I'm an indoor guy. Okay. I don't, but I love the Seattle to Portland. I think it's an amazing, I'll call it a race. I know it's not necessarily.
No, it's not a race, but some people compete against their time last year. They compete against their friends or whatever. But it's just a fun, festive kind of event. And you see people of all ages. I can remember the one year, it was an 83-year-old gentleman finished in one day. And the one year that the youngest kid on a single bike, I think was like 6 years old, that rode in 2 days. Yes.
What's your best time? Against yourself?
10 hours. I finished
10 hours.
I averaged 20 miles per hour.
That's crazy.
So, and of course, there was time off the bike. I think we were off the bike for maybe 1 hour. So 11 hours total time, but 10 hours on the bike.
Wow. Okay.
That was a few
last
years
question.
Ago,
well, okay. 2 last questions. The last question I always ask my guests, and you didn't know this was coming, so I don't know what the answer is going to be. I love coffee. I mean, coffee is my thing. Do you drink coffee?
Yes, I always have a couple of cups of coffee. That's the first thing I put in my body when I wake up. Coffee.
Well, it's a health food as far as I'm concerned. Where is a great place to get a cup of coffee in your world? Where do you go?
Home.
See, that's a cop out. Okay.
Most of the time I get coffee, it's home. When I get coffee, it's at home.
All right. So then the last question is, what didn't I ask you that we should have talked about?
Honestly, you've asked a lot of great questions and given me an opportunity to talk about a wide spectrum of things that's important from a personal and business standpoint. So you didn't ask me what the weather's like, so I didn't get to tell you that we've got snow outside.
I have snow outside in my office in Wenatchee today too, and I do have one last question. This is going to be a hard one for you. This is going to be the hardest question. Okay. You can have one last meal at Ezell's. What are you picking?
Man, today is the spicy breast, potato salad, beans, and a slice of sweet potato pie.
Okay. That was I got that out of you easier than I thought I would. I thought you were going to like, well, okay.
No.
All right.
My favorite things change over time. And so right now, that's what it is. My go.
That's right now.
Bread, slice of pie, beans, and potato salad. The
potato salad's quite good. Any secrets in that potato salad that you're willing to share?
Goodness. Freshness.
I love it. So do you guys, you're making that potato salad fresh in each location?
Real potatoes. Each location prepares each menu item, each recipe from scratch every day. The potatoes get peeled every day at each location. The mac and cheese is made fresh each location. The bread is baked fresh each location. The yams for the sweet potato pies are peeled at each location every day.
I love it. Not the sweet potato pie.
Mashed potatoes and gravy made from scratch each location every day.
I'm driving to Spokane this week. I have to now. You're killing me. But I want to thank you so much for taking the time to make this happen. I've enjoyed this a lot. Please keep doing what you guys are doing. I love your chicken. I'm not Oprah, but I love your chicken. And thank you so much.
Well, Scott, you and the rest of the thousands of people that have experienced Ezell's and shared the word of how good it is and how it made you feel are equally important to us as Oprah.
Oh,
yeah. There's only one Oprah, but there's thousands of you out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Join us next time for another episode of the Exploring Washington State podcast.